And welcome in, everybody. Whack again. Back again.
Whack.
Back. I'll just start over.
Hey, that could be a name of a new brewery. Whack Back Brewing.
Whack back. There we go.
That sounds like a redneck type brewery. Whack Back.
Whack back. Maybe quack back.
Well, that could work
That'd be
too.
Save Your Seat or something.
Affleck. We're not getting paid for this promotion.
Welcome in to the Two Guys in Beer podcast studios. Once again, Andy and Sean here to be able to discuss the greatest beers of all time, or just all of the beers. I mean, I think some of them are really great, but I don't know the official rankings. I feel like it'd be hard to do the official rankings. Like, that's thousands. How do you narrow it down?
I think you'd have to narrow it down by style, a stout IPA lager, and go from that direction.
Yeah.
Like make a top 5. It's like trying to pick your favorite movie or your favorite song or band. It's really hard, but if you narrow it down to specific genre or style,
right,
go from there, top 5.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know that I could pick even a top 5 of certain breweries. I mean, in my mind, maybe, but the thing is, there's so many of them that we haven't had yet.
There's millions we haven't had yet.
We're trying to overcome that obstacle, though. We're doing our best to be able to experience all of it.
Slow but sure, and we're taking you along the journey with us.
Yep, 2063, we will have a top 5.
We will. It will take some time.
There may be some changeover in the the list before then. So
I will have to throw one out there that's in my top 5. Widowmaker. I'm sorry. It's in my top 5. It would be probably in my all-time top 5.
It is. It's an amazing beer.
Right. And that's a black ale, so I don't know the other black ales category, what else is out there for that, but that one, Widowmaker is in my top 5. I don't care what anybody says. It
is an amazing beer, and I'm so glad that years ago that somebody suggested that as an option. And honestly, I don't remember even who it was. It might have been a vendor that tried to suggest it to me when I had the bar. That might have been where I ended up getting it, but I was like, I don't know that that'll necessarily go. And he's like, well, I'll bring you like a sample, and I'm like, I don't really want a sample. He's like, well, I'll bring you some cans, and I had the first one, and I was like, dial it up. I'll drink it myself. I don't even care.
It was so good. I do buy it from time to time. I do usually have some in my I don't currently. Usually I have some in there. I think I have some Pickaxe Ale in my fridge from up there right now, but I usually have some Widowmaker. And I'm going to throw in one more at you before we get going on this beer we're doing tonight. The beer we had on the previous episode. Beer before baseball. If you're talking lager category, that's got to be in the top 5 already. If I'm quickly thinking about a list and not really deep diving it, that is a super good light lager, and I sure need some more of that.
That was a phenomenal, I don't want to say like complete surprise, but it was definitely kind of like, wow.
It was super tasty.
Yeah. So if you're following along at home now, that's 2 beers that we've already covered on the podcast over previous episodes. So definitely go back and kind of review some of those over the course of the series, I guess, if you will, as far as what we've done here. So, but today we're talking about Haggard Barrel Brewing Company. Again, Haggard Barrel. I guess there's another Haggard out there somewhere, but Haggard Barrel is the one that we're looking for. It's out of St. Louis Park, Minnesota. So it's kind of local.
Merle Haggard. Country singer.
There you go. Yeah. I don't know that I could riff on any of his tunes right now, though. Maybe if I Googled it, I could probably come up with something.
I'd have to think for a minute.
Yeah. The older fans that we have out in the audience are right now screaming at whatever that the phone or whatever they're listening to. Like,
right.
Just sing that song. I don't think you want me to sing it all. So it's probably better that I'm not thinking of one.
I think I agree. We don't need to sing. We already experienced that before.
It's true.
On suspecting karaoke tune.
Oh, we're going to blame Nick on that one, even though it was really your fault, because I think me and Nick were playing pool, but he was making friends over there too. So
I don't recall it being my fault, but okay, I'll shoulder the blame, Nick. Thanks.
I don't remember. I remember parts of that day. Yeah. I appreciate the visit though.
Remember?
Yeah, that was oh, that was good times. Just, I'm glad I didn't play bingo that night. We'll let that one just kind of lie there. Haggard
Brewing.
Yeah, that's out of St. Louis Park. kind of a new brewery. They're only a couple months in. They're kind of a fresh and new one. Some of the stuff that I was looking at, trying to be able to find information, there's not a ton out there. I pulled some from their Instagram, their website. I got some there. But one of the first things that pops up if you were to Google them is actually the live video when they're going before the city council. Be able to get their information, their stuff going. So
their liquor license or approval or
exactly. Yeah. So they're kind of fresh in on everything. Let's see, I don't know if they have a specific date, but I know that they had some stuff that they said that they're opening soon on their Instagram, as where a lot of this is coming from. First dry run that they were making was about 10 weeks ago. So they're not real old. That was the end of January. So 9 weeks ago, February 10th is when it went before the council. And then they started being able to get things out shortly after that. So their first beer sold commercially came out, and it was about a month ago. So about 4 weeks ago. So nice. March 15th, we usually try not to get too timely, on the episodes. That way you can listen and watch potentially on YouTube anywhere, anytime. But just time-wise, it's about 4 weeks old. So kind of a fun little deal that, we kind of stumbled upon, I guess.
What did you say, March 15th?
Yep.
Was their grand open date?
Mm-hmm. Well, at least that's when they first released their beer.
The first release. Yeah. March 15th of 2024.
2024.
So now you got it dated properly for everybody.
Yep.
So
got
in the future.
Date stamp on there.
Yep.
So, yeah, no, that's kind of a fresh one with that. So got a handful of beers that they got out there. You can see some of them here on the front table of the Two Guys and Beer podcast studio. The Glonky is a smoothie-style sour ale, mango strawberry with Kernza grain. We'll get a little bit more into the Kernza grain here in a little bit, but they also have Amber Waves, which is not on our list. It's a Vienna-style amber lager, but we also have the Nothing Hits Like a Schlaps. And how? That one's a little bit more of an American lager drink. So that should be, it should be fun. One episode to be able to chat about
Park
that.
Isn't far from us. We should probably go to that one too.
I mean,
we say this every episode, but really we'll get there at some point. But this is a local brewery to us.
If you see the meme, I think it's probably from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where where he's got like not the murder board, but he's got the string going all over the place, and he's like, just follow me with this, I
don't think I've seen that.
I feel like that's what I picture, like our road trip, like the little string here and then it's back there. And if we go this direction, I feel like that's kind of what's kind of coming together on this one.
Sure.
I mean, I'm in.
We should start a map.
There we go.
Can do that. Pin it up and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as the map starts appearing magically right behind it. We stopped there on the way down to Iowa.
Right.
To go to Millstream
Brewing in Urbana, Iowa.
Try to connect with them and try to maybe be able to do some on location stuff. We're going to reach out to these guys, waiting to be able to kind of hear back. Initially, it actually kind of almost fell into our lap to a certain extent. We've talked numerous times, and again, not a sponsorship at all, but at the same time, I give them kudos every time that I can, is the Dabbler Depot. It's a liquor store. I guess, it's they don't really deal on a lot of Coors Lights or, more of the mass scale beers, but it's a lot of craft beer, a lot of craft cocktails, bourbons. They got vodkas, gins, all sorts of stuff from all over the world there. So it's not a huge building, but they got a lot of really nice selection there.
Yeah, a lot of the craft beer, like you mentioned, comes from local breweries too, in small places. Mm-hmm. It's not big distributors or anything like that. So it really helps. You get to try a lot of craft beers from the small local breweries around too, so that's pretty nice.
So some of these beers, they were in, so you can go across like the main part of the cooler. You can check out all the different coolers, but at the end, they have a door that you can go inside and they got some disco lights to go to the singles lounge. Because that's where they got the onesie twosies to be able to get. So you don't have to buy like a 12 pack of something you've never had. You can go and have, just a couple to be able to try them out. So, but they're always willing to have you try something. They got some usually on tap for you to be able to try. They got some bourbons that are open, or they'll open one up to be able to, let you taste it at all. So
perfect.
If you're looking for something, I highly recommend it. Again, not a sponsorship. Unless you guys would like to. If anybody's checked in from there, we'd love to have you. But no, they're great people there. They're a lot of fun. They want to make sure they find something that works for you. And we ended up starting kind of to have a conversation about this a little bit. And it turns out it ended up being one of the people that is part of the trio of ownership for Haggard Barrel Brewing. So kind of fun to be able to got a couple of stickers there that they gave us as well. Just trying to get the word out there, I'm sure, for them. But for us, it was kind of an opportunity to be able to, have a little bit of a chat, with, kind of some ownership and some local breweries. And we wanted to try to be able to test out their beers. So kind of trying some new stuff as well. So it should be a little bit different. So it should be fun. Should be interesting.
Right. Well, shall we?
We probably should get the
mouthy over here.
I know. I've been yammering.
It's been a while for a beer, so I'll hand you one.
Thank you, sir. This is going to be Nothing Hits Like a Schlaps Beer and How.
I'd like to know where they came up with that name. I like that name. Mm-hmm. It's like a name where you want to like smack somebody upside the head.
Kind of.
I don't know.
And it's kind of a classic, like a nice, clean looking can. Yeah, absolutely. And you can see obviously by the other one too. It's not like they're just stuck into that. They're willing to do all sorts of fun stuff. All right.
Ooh, yeah.
As I say every time, best part of the episode.
Music to my ears.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely fantastic.
Kind of smells like a fruity lager here before I take a drink.
So let's see here. Reading off the can here. Tall boy, so it's a pint. 4.3 alcohol by volume. Not a ton on the can, but what it says on their Instagram page, again, as I mentioned, a lot of their information sourced from Instagram and their website as well. The Schlaps American Lager, spring and summer are coming. This all-American crusher is made with choice barley, malt, and flaked corn, lightly hopped for continuous shotguns. Lightly hopped for continuous shotguns. That's how word reading works.
And you can definitely tell that, and when you drink this too,
absolutely,
the light hops in there for sure. It's got a small bitterness to it, but barely at all because it is a lager, and you can definitely tell their description there is pretty perfect to my palate. Is a small lightly hopped there. It's pretty tasty.
Absolutely, continuous shotguns and long days on the lake, which those are always fun too.
I don't like long days on the lake. I don't like water, so after a long day of mowing, I'll drink one.
There we go. That'll work.
I don't mind being on a boat. I like to be on a boat and stuff, but I'm not a big fan of water in general. So
I think they like the idea of being, although going out on the pontoon, we'll go out there, bop around a little bit, but we'll just go to like this bar, the other bar, or something like that, and kind of hang out there, But I don't know. I've never really much of a fisher.
I'm weird. I'm probably the only Minnesotan that doesn't care for water too much.
Right.
I don't know. I have this fear of drowning. So that's kind of what does it. So if I'm in water above my head and I can't touch the ground, I kind of have a problem with that. But I can be in a boat and that doesn't bother me. But if I'm in the water, it's kind of where I have the problem. Mm-hmm. But a boat is so restrictive. You can't really move much. You just kind of sit there.
Right.
If I'm going to sit, I'd rather be in my house or on my deck looking at wildlife or sitting on the lawnmower.
There you go. Having a Schlaps.
Actually, I'd probably have 2 Schlaps.
Probably.
On the lawnmower. Probably 3 on the lawnmower scale.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice and light,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know, it's got enough to it. It does have some body to it. Like, it's not just a super ultra light. It's got some nice body to it as well. So you can kind of get a little bit of the malt through there. Yeah. A little bit of that. Again, nothing, it's not like super heavy, super deep or anything, but it definitely has some flavoring to it and some, like I said, some body to it.
It does have some body. It does have some taste. You can probably throw it in the same category as a Grain Belt Northeast or a Moosehead, as lagers that actually have a flavor and a taste. So I would probably put this in that category. Of course, it doesn't taste similar to those at all, but in the category of lagers that actually has a taste, I would definitely put it in there. It's actually pretty good for a brand new brewery. This is pretty decent,
And as we've mentioned before, lagering is more of a different style of making it. You have IPAs and you have different things with that, pale ales, but mostly it's either lagers or ales, and you just kind of work your way through there beyond that. But lagering has more to do with partly some of the ingredients, but also partly that you have to keep it colder,
right?
As you make it. So it's more of it's a little bit, you don't see as much of lagers with especially smaller breweries, just because there's an infrastructure that has to go with that. It's not just the cooler to keep the kegs. You also have to, if you're going to make it at scale, you have to be able to keg it and be able to store it while it works through that process. So definitely is out there. I'm not saying that nobody does it, but it's always nice to be able to find smaller breweries that are willing to do that and go through that process.
Right, definitely, for sure. I think we should. We're probably gonna, like we already talked about, getting a hold of the owners, had a little conversation with them at the Dabbler Depot, get them on, go check out their process of making something like this and where it came up from, and here it is.
So if you check out their website, haggardbarrel.com, under the About tab, it shows a picture of, kind of what they got there, and them through the process of making some beers. Just as far as informationally, it is 100% employee owned. So it's
nice.
The basically the three people that do it that's who it is. It's all employee owned. So it's not a big conglomerate or anything like that. They don't have employee profiles. They encourage you, just come on down, come say hi. So, which is, I'm in.
Yeah, we're going to have to come say hi.
Tough sell.
You'll be seeing this soon.
So their description, Haggard to us is synonymous with gritty, gnarly, and well-worn. So kind of like Merle Haggard to a certain extent, kind of old cowboy guy. Yeah. As we begin over at Haggard Barrel, we know that we are small. We know that a fancy tap room and tons of marketing to get our name out there is not going to be something we can afford. We know that our equipment is not going to be top of the line, but we embrace the fact that that if we want to do this as industry veterans and own it ourselves, we'll have to start with what we can pull together and find a way to be able to make great beer. So they're not going to be the big flashy, you go to some places and you can tell they put millions of dollars into the building and the equipment. So you can look at it and everything. It's still going to look good. It's still going to be good beer. It's not, quality. People get hung up a lot of times on appearance of it, that, this is better quality because it looks nicer.
Looks good.
I don't know. I've been to some pretty awful dive bars and gotten a cheeseburger that will knock your frickin' socks off.
Really good. Yeah.
Like, you got to be willing to kind of experiment with that. So if if you get a little bit worried about that, I suggest giving her a shot and kind of stepping out of that comfort zone a little bit. Let's see here. What else do they say here? We believe that it isn't how new or expensive your tools are, but how much effort you put in and how you use them. You can expect consistent quality beer for us day in and day out, with frequent collaborations with our good friends across the country and in the beer industry and beyond. The spot may look a little haggard.
Perfect. Yeah.
But we can assure you our beer is not. So I definitely highly recommend it. Go check it out. And just right there in St. Louis Park. So, it looks like a nice place, like a good place to be able to go. And I think we've talked about that before, that I'm failing to remember now off the top of my head, but on the episode when we were talking about Tarpon River in Florida, in the Fort Lauderdale area, the place, I guess, liquor store, in a sense, but it's, it was a place that you go in, they just have single cans everywhere. You can get 6 packs of stuff, but generally the thing is you go in there and you pick out your single cans, you drink it, and you just hold on to your empties. And at the end you check out just paying for the empties is what it is. They got food there. They got stuff like that, like all things like that. But I think that on the episode, if you go back and you check out the Tarpon River Brewery episode, we're really throwing all the flashbacks in. What other one we're talking about? Moosehead. We're talking about
Widowmaker,
all of them. But the way that I described the building is, it wasn't dirty or dank or terrible. It was lived in.
Right.
It existed. There's something to be said for kind of that nice, clean, chic, modern look. But
no, there's not when it comes to a brewery.
I'm not saying good to be said. I'm just saying there's something to be said.
Gently used. I like the gently used historic buildings, that barn style, industrial look, wood, steel, man stuff. Not that women can't enjoy good beer and brewery, but old industrial roaring 20s type, speakeasy.
Yeah,
type,
something that's existed. Like there's just I don't know if charm is the right word for it, but there's just something about going to a place. And, I mean, even as listeners, think about like some of the places that you've gone that you kind of enjoy. Like were they like, I mean, maybe, you go to a nice restaurant that's got, clean and chic and everything or whatever, but you go to, like the local pub and grill or something like that. And, just kind of you can tell that this place has been around for decades,
right?
And people enjoy going in there, like they got the wood floor and it's finished, but it's not like put in last week. Like this has been refinished a couple times. It's got the scuff marks on it, just, you can tell people want to be there.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the feeling sometimes. I really like a place like that. So having a place that's they're leaning into that, I really enjoy that idea.
Yeah, I agree for sure. This Haggard Brewery, they talked about, you had brought up about how they don't have brand new equipment. They don't spend millions of dollars. They do this and they do that. And they're not going to be a large brewery. I'll tell you what, Onus, if they make beer like this in the future with more beers, more varieties, they aren't going to be small for long.
Yeah.
They'll definitely expand and definitely become a much larger brewery, more well-known in the future for sure.
And I love the fact that, and I think we've talked about this before too, that like craft beer brewing, and I guess to a certain extent, even, some cocktail making, but really like the craft brew industry is definitely become kind of that you can get into it and everybody's going to support you. You can get collaborations, you can get other stuff, you can get all sorts of stuff going on, because as much as it is still a competition, it's also, if we grow the industry, then we grow the industry,
right.
Which if I'm part of the industry, that helps grow
me too.
It helps
everybody. Yeah.
And so I think that there's a lot of support and a lot of good things with that. They're doing some collaborations. The one that we don't have here, unfortunately, Amber Waves, a Vienna-style amber lager, is in collaboration with Wooden Ship Brewing. So they're already working with other industry experts and other industry just mainstays, or even just other people that are doing it. You know what I mean? Like the one like beautiful thing about collaborations is, again, it's yes, technically maybe we're competing with you, but why not we just smash something together and see if we can't come up with something that's amazing too? You know what I mean? We can both sell it. We both.
That's what my wife says.
Exactly.
Just put things together and smash. And
exactly.
Amazing things happen.
That's, that's exactly what's going on.
I have a terrible mind sometimes. I apologize for that. It just went together. But no, yeah, I agree. Yeah, the collaboration, it just puts better products out there, especially for craft beer all around the country. You collaborate and you get better products, better ideas, and it helps everybody out in the end. So it's awesome to see that. That's the type of culture that local and small breweries have, craft brewing, et cetera. So.
And even new breweries, something like this or whatever, like, I don't want to say that it's just accessible for everybody, but it's kind of accessible for most people. You get into the industry a little bit, maybe you work with, a place or something like that. You're like, okay, well, I'd like to kind of do that. Well, I don't, you don't want to take out, $300,000 worth of loans to buy all new equipment and do this and do that. And you talk to one of the people that you worked with before, and they're like, oh, well, I got a line on this place is selling some of their old stuff and they're upgrading their things. So we're going to get you all set up for about $16.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's part of that collaboration is like, they want to be able to grow and give people the opportunity. And so you see a lot of people that are just like, they want to have fun doing it. You know what I mean? They want to enjoy doing it. I don't know a lot of people. Maybe there are some. I would think that it wouldn't last real long, but I don't know a lot of people that get into doing craft beer brewing and having their own brewery, microbrewery, whatever size it's going to be, that aren't wanting to have fun.
Right.
That are just like, nope, we got numbers and ones and zeros and right down the line. No. We're going to have some fun. We're going to enjoy this. We're going to have the passion come through.
That's just it. It's the passion, people's passions and hobbies that turn into successes, to start breweries and stuff. That's most of the stories of the beers we've told so far. Mm-hmm. In fact, every beer, if you really want to trace it back, is just people that had an idea, a passion. It was a hobby. Just like this podcast. Mm-hmm. It's just a hobby for fun, and it's growing thanks to all the listeners. Just to get it started that way, it just makes everything better, in my opinion.
And brewing is such a accessible thing to a certain extent. you can go to, you can go to the internet now essentially, but, like at the time, you could go to different places and be able to get like, all right, here's a kit to be able to brew 5 gallons. You could go and you could pick your own. Yeah, you could certainly just go to the liquor store and like get, like, all right, get the, 6-pack of this or whatever. But it's one of those things. It's like, you know what? I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to try it out. It's first time you do it, it's going to be a good long day. Make sure you get yourself ready for an entire day worth of stuff. But it's so accessible. You know what I mean? Like almost anybody can do it. Anybody can get out there and get the stuff to be able to do it. It's inexpensive to be able to get into it.
Just to say it's fairly inexpensive to start that type of hobby for home brew and stuff too.
And it's essentially it is cooking because you're creating something to be consumed. So you are cooking, but it's kind of like that from the standpoint of if you've ever, gotten something and you look at the recipe and you're like, God, you know what? I wish this had just a little bit more Parmesan cheese on the top. Throw it on there.
Right.
It's yes, you have the recipe, but the recipe is just a guideline. Just feel like, I like that, but I think maybe a little bit more of this some might up it just a little bit for what I like. Do that. Why not? Maybe somebody else will like it. Maybe you just have your own little mix that you got going on. You know what I mean? That's what recipes all are anyway. So
that begs the question. This is a question I hate, and I hear this a lot.
All of the Parmesan cheese. That's what I want. Just keep
I
going.
like Parmesan cheese. I like Parmesan cheese. So is brewing beer creation? Is it art? Are we calling it art? It's not my definition of art, but everybody thinks everything's art. So is this liquid art, food art, consumption art, artiste? Do you call a brewmaster an artiste?
There's an artistic level to it. I guess I don't know that I would necessarily call it art.
There's art on the can.
Yeah, there is that. There's a certain level, I guess, in my mind, and I'm not saying that I'm the expert here. Feel free to.
Well, after another Schlaps, you might become an expert.
I probably will, because that's when all the great ideas really start to come out. If you have your opinions on this, feel free to chime in. Whether it be on any of our social platforms or YouTube stream, whatever it is you're checking in on, give us kind of your feedback on what you think on this. But I view, and it's going to be ironic that I say view, but I kind of, view art as something you can visually, like even food to a certain extent. Yes, I do think is somewhat artistic because of the way you have to visually present it.
The presentation.
Exactly.
Sure.
There's a certain amount of that, using the right plate, using the accent swipes of chocolate or mango sauce or whatever it is, that you got to put on there. Beer to a certain extent can be, but when you pour it in a glass, but it's just a different shade more than anything. So I don't know. I can see where the argument could be made, but, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm all in on the brewery art scene if that's what we decide that it is. But if it's me, I don't know. I guess I think of it as more of a visual. When I think art, I think of it as visual. Like a golf course can be art because of the way that it's done. Somebody's baseball swing, Ken Griffey Jr., or Joe Mauer is kind of there's an art to doing that. Pitching, like things but those are all visual kind of things, you know what I mean? But it's not like the traditional go to the museum and look at the Mona Lisa or, the statue of David or something, you know what I mean? Like those are visual, but like it doesn't have to be that. So I guess I don't pigeonhole it there, but at the same time, like it's still a visual medium in my mind. I don't know. I could be wrong. I'd happy to be educated on it.
Well, I don't know if anybody can educate you on it. The term art seems to have evolved in such a broad category. Like you can just grab a bucket of paint and splash it on the wall, and that's considered art. To me, that's not art. Taking random brush strokes on a canvas isn't art, and welding junk in your backyard together, art. To me, that's not art, but it's classified that. To me, art is like pencil drawing, famous paintings like the Mona Lisa, like you mentioned. It has to be a painting of something that I can see, not just squiggly lines and this and that. Bob Ross, there's some art. Little happy trees and happy waterfalls and little cute rocks here and there,
I'm going to do that at some point in time. I'm going to get myself a little palette. I'm going to do all those things.
Wet paint. We could do a presentation right here on the show.
Absolutely. This might be a Two Guys in Beer and Bob Ross.
Bob Ross. So to me, that's art. I think art is too broadly. Things are broadly called art. That's why I just thought I'd throw it up about the beer and art, because it is creation and making things out of nothing and stuff. But like music, they call music art. To me, that's not art. Because that's
true, because it's not really visually consumed. But I
call
guess
themselves artists.
I guess I kind of think
I call them musicians, and they are creating. But to me, that's not art. So what is the categories? Are different categories of art?
Yeah, I guess I kind of look at like the composer as an artist. But yeah, the musicians are, they're part of the medium itself. But yeah, I guess, you kind of kiboshed my, is visual, whereas music is an art form.
Yeah, it's a category of art. Musicians are great. I love music. Without music, life would suck.
Oh my God, yeah.
Thank you to everybody that makes music.
100%. We got to talk concerts later. I got a whole list. We're going to do some stuff like that.
Perfect. I'm all on board on concerts.
But maybe another beer or two. And then
another Schlaps.
Then we'll buy all sorts of concert tickets.
A mango strawberry.
Yeah, that Glonky is
Glonky.
I don't know. That we may end up having that Glonky yet today. The Glonky, just for those keeping track at home, that other one here. It's a smoothie-style sour ale, mango strawberry, in collaborations with Arcola Farms Kernza grain. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, because it's a new kind of grain that it changes the way certain things are even made.
Sure.
It makes the farming even a little bit more sustainable. They wanted something with a little bit more intensely flavored, and they couldn't think of a better way to have a smooth fruited sour, not smoothed. That would be Fred Smoothed. Way different thing.
For the Vikings.
Way different situation there.
The Love Boat. Wasn't he on the Love Boat?
He was definitely a part. I think he set up the Love Boat. I think that's probably what it is.
I think he did. Yeah, I think he jogged my memory enough.
Oh my God. But this, they didn't focus on the grains. They use it as kind of a substitute with the high protein malts. But the way that they did it, they don't have like a lactose in there, but it's got a smoothie kind of taste to it. I know it's different, but
silence. We're talking about the Glonky, right?
We are talking about the Glonky. So
sorry, I was still thinking about Fred Smoot for a second.
It is, a little bit different. That is, that is a thing.
So what are you talking about? The grain for Glonky?
The grain is the Kernza grain. Kernza, Kernza is what I'm going to go ahead and say it. So I'm going to try to look at kind of the Wikipedia here. There's obviously a million different things on it, but we're just going to kind of hit the highlights here. You can feel free to look it up again on whatever medium you want to, whatever art form you want to see it. But the Kernza grain is kind of what it is, but it has something to do. It is a lot better with it goes deeper. So it is more. I got to find the actual now because the basic start here just talks about that it's a grain with wheat grasses similar to seeds of a common wheat, but more of a perennial, while wheat is an annual. I know that some of them come back every year. Some of them you got to plant every year.
Right.
Is basically the difference on that one. But
so the roots go deeper.
Yeah. Normal corn tend to deplete more soil organic matter and require inputs, whereas something like this is going to be something you can get yield crops while building organic matter.
Okay.
So it's actually better. So even when you get into the grain, you're seeing a little bit more of this getting into more and more breweries and whatnot. And it gets a lot more into trying to be more sustainable.
So it doesn't suck the life out of the soil, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a little more, and we've talked numerous different times about various different things that it's trying to be. The whole industry is always up for trying to figure out different ways to be more eco-sustainable.
Right.
It's, I don't think that anything is going to be 100% ecosystem. which Tangent Tuesday.
Here we go.
Monday, Tangent Tuesday.
There we go.
Just a momentary thing. I got this email the other day on a local run, the Grandma's Marathon deal up in Duluth. Yep. Yeah. I'm going to be part of the half marathon. I know, runner's physique, but doing the half marathon, but they send routine emails throughout the course of the year. Well, a couple of them come across where they talk about they want to try to make the run mostly eco-friendly. Now you say running, it's pretty eco-friendly in and of itself, okay. Except for when you get 15,000 people coming to town, they all drive separate. Yeah. And so what they say is most of the carbon load and most of the stuff that happens is because of that. Yes, there is some waste products and people throwing cups, but they do a pretty good job with having 1 million volunteers help pick up the paper cups and try to get those to recycling and do things like that. But in that email, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, they offer you the opportunity to go to a certain website where you can purchase a carbon offset.
Okay, what's the carbon offset that we're purchasing?
So apparently you drive your car to Duluth is going to have a certain carbon footprint, but you can pay to not have that carbon footprint. But really,
of course you can pay.
You're paying to have them plant trees somewhere. You're not really erasing that footprint's still there. You don't walk on the moon and the footprint just oh, we're gonna wipe it away. That doesn't happen.
If we've been
you're trying to exactly. Maybe it's just a big block of cheese.
Throwing it out there. Conspiracy theory.
It'll be, but it's. I don't know. It's when you talk about the carbon offset. I mean, there is a certain amount, but when you hear something like an airline, a major airline talk about oh, we're going to be carbon free by blah, 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 blah. No, you're not. You have just figured out a way to be able to plant enough trees to offset how much fuel you're using, because you are not going to be carbon. You're just offsetting it. Yeah. Which I get. We could get into a whole discussion.
Carbon free thing's kind of a joke. And now that we're on Tangent Tuesday here.
See, look at I started
numerous times that we plant way more trees than we ever have in the history of mankind versus what we cut down. We plant 3 times as many trees as what we cut down. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that offsetting your carbon input by planting more trees is some great spectacle.
And even I've had some conversations even with my brother-in-law. He is a lumberjack. For better treatment, where he works within the industry. I think he more supervises. I don't really. Maybe he's out there with an axe. I don't know. I haven't seen him with one, but I'm sure he knows how to handle a chainsaw. But they do a lot of logging. But a lot of what they do isn't all right, we're going to clear cut this entire area because we're going to be moving in all these factories or something. No, they're doing a lot of either clear cutting or sustainable things in conjunction with either local farmers or even businesses or DNR. A lot of the stuff that they're doing is better for the environment, but people look at the headline, the big, clear cut this entire area. Well, there was probably a reason, you look at certain things, you get into trusting the DNR or conservation officers or things from that standpoint. California tends to not do that. They're nope, nature is nature. Don't touch it. Okay, well, that's fine. But then when it burns all away, because that's part of nature too, then you all of a sudden throw all of the resources and all of the people that you throw in danger because it's all burning now and you're not sure why it's burning. Well, that's part of nature too. So if you're going to let nature be nature, you have to let all of the nature be the nature.
Well, it's funny. They freak out when wildfires happen. Well, that's a part of the process. Mm-hmm. Fires need to happen. It kills old growth. It rejuvenates the soil, so new growth happens.
Yeah, it's not always bad. We do.
That's part of it. I mean, it's sad. It's devastating. Animals lose their habitat. You could get your house burned down and lost, but wildfires, that's a part of nature. That's a part of the whole process of living things and life and plant life and forestry and all that.
And you work with, or you talk to DNR, forestry, conservation officers, people within that world, planned burning or doing things like that, controlled burnings. That's a big part of being able to control some of that. Not even control it. Control is probably the wrong word. I feel like that's an aggressive word there. But more so being able to help sustain a lot of that. You know what I mean? It's something that's going to happen. But if you can do it in a way that we kind of guide it a little bit, then it doesn't create issues where we're burning somebody's house down because it's a runaway fire, because all it is just overgrowth at this point. We're just trying to be able to kind of keep it balanced in a way.
Anyways, now we've got off on that topic.
That definitely kind of went right off the rails there.
That's what this podcast is all about. Two guys drinking beer, talking like we're at a bar.
Absolutely.
Solving world's problems, which always happens best after a couple beers, especially a Schlaps or two.
Nothing hits like a Schlaps. And how?
There we go.
So yeah, it's kind of a interesting thing. So this new grain, the soil management is probably one of the biggest things. By way of erosion control and land habitation rehabilitation, our uses for this, it establishes quickly to form a protective mat of roots and rhizomes, which even when planted on soils degraded by earth moving or mining, within 5 years, stands have produced 7,000 pounds per acre of dry root mass within the top 8 inches. So heavy root production in the soil keep things in place and restores its natural fertility by increasing soil carbon.
Awesome.
A lot of technical words, but it has big, thick, deep roots to it. And so it actually works wonders for like soil and water conservation. You don't have a lot of erosion.
Sure.
It comes back. So you aren't spending a lot of time turning things over. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You would think that, okay, well, now you can't really kill it by rooting it up. Generally, it's not an invasive plant and it coexists well with native plant species.
Perfect. That's what we need when we're growing corn for our beer.
Exactly. And left unharvested, the vegetation is a good nesting habitat for some birds and waterfowl.
Perfect.
So
I like birds.
That's some of the things, like you talk about. Now I'm failing to remember the brewery that created their own recycling plant, for all of the glass that they were going through.
Yeah, we did an episode St. Louis.
Yes.
They're down there, Kansas City.
And like things like that and things like this, the industry as a whole, it's still creating, farming is going to be something that's going to be a part of the fabric of America and really the world forever. I would argue. You just don't have really food, even the crappy processed food.
Well, Bill Gates likes to come up with fake food all the time. So meat, meatless meat.
But even
plant-based meat
is a lot of like soy type of stuff or things like that. But a lot of it is plant-based.
Well, where do you get the ingredients? You have to come out of something.
Got to come from somewhere. So, like farming, generally speaking, is going to kind of be there. So like even the brewery industry is, helping develop or latch on to experimental things like this different type of grain that is, it's still good. It still works with what we're doing, but it leaves the environment better. And so, I don't know. Again, it's just another step in the right direction for the craft beer industry.
Right at Haggard Brewery, right down there in St. Louis Park, Minnesota.
Absolutely love it. That's most of what I got here, Sean. I babbled on and on and on. I'll let you do some of the babbling.
That sounds good to me. I don't do a lot of babbling. I'm not much of a babbler, but I'll say I think that about wraps up this episode with Haggard Brewery here. It's a good beer, a good lager. If they continue on this path, brewing beer like this, they will not be small for long with their used equipment, their gently used equipment, what they're talking about. Andy and I are going to go check it out sometime this summer. I'm holding them to it. We'll take some videos there while we're there. We'll see if we can't get the owners on for a podcast. If you get this in your area, try to get some. It's brand new. And nothing hits like a Schlaps, right?
Yeah, and how.
Right, and how. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.